So this is going to be exercise number 8 to sketch a curve, another cubic function over here. We are not going into too much details as we have mentioned in the previous video. So I'm just going to capture this x cubed minus x from your lecture slide and then differentiate it once to obtain the first derivative, which is pretty easy over here, and the second derivative is as shown in your screen. Okay, so turning points, when you let your f prime x is equals to 0, then you are able to obtain x equals to plus minus 1 over C3. So there are actually two values over here, and the corresponding value, which is your f, well, surprisingly, if you would like to write it like this, it's also acceptable, since the values for the positive, you will get a negative 2 over 3 C3, and for the negative 1 over C3, you will get a positive. So it's like this, in a reverse case like this. Okay, so I'm going to use the table of shape of tangent to determine whether it's minimum or maximum. I definitely like this table of shape of tangent more than the second derivative test for your relative extremum, simply because it doesn't depends on your correctness of this second derivative. Assuming that you are differentiating it wrong, then you might get a wrong answer here for determining the relative minimum or maximum. So this one, 1 over C3, let's use negative instead of here, and then use a positive over here simply to resemble the ascending order. The closest value, which is negative 0.6 and negative 0.5, can be used. You can use other value as long as the right value for the negative 1 over C3 does not touches the 1 over C3 itself. Okay, so this one is very much acceptable, and you will get a plus, a 0, a minus. This one is actually a relative maximum point. And let's complete the second table. This one definitely is going to be negative, 0, and a plus. So now we can say that this one is a relative maximum point, and this one is going to be a relative minimum point. So you should capture the value for x and fx over here for these two turning points, and next one will be finding your inflection point. So f double prime x is equal to 0, and yeah, definitely your x is 0, and when you use x equal to 0 into your f, you will get 0, 2, right? So draw the table of concavity. So you can use x, f double prime, and then concave. 0, you can choose half and negative half or other value, as long as you definitely can get the changes of concavity. So likewise, I've mentioned this one to be concave downwards from before, or we can draw like this. Just make sure that we can see the concavity of that drawing. Alright, so now that we have done our inflection point, next will be the intercept. I forgot to label this one, this one too is 0 and 0. This one just now, let's just write this one completely, so as to not confuse some of us. Okay, so that is pretty tedious. 3. Okay, and this one is 1 over sec 3 and negative 2 over 3 sec 3. Okay, so the intercepts, very self-explanatory, so I'm going to just write all the values over here. When your x is equal to 0, definitely you can get 0 in the y. And next, when you let y is equal to 0, you get plus minus 1. So let's write this one as negative 1 and 1, 0. Okay, so those are the 3 core points needed for us to sketch this curve. So this is the number 1, definitely this is belong to the first category. Also number 2 and number 3. So you can pause the video to capture all those important points. As for now, I'm going to the next slide and just draw it again. What I know is we have relative maximum first and then relative minimum after. So the curve still looks N-shaped like this, or as what we have already known, cubic function, if the a is positive, the a is the coefficient of the x to the power of 3, then you will have this N shape. So if the a is a negative, you will have the reflect of this curve, a reverse N, if I can say it using that term. So our inflection point is on 0, 0. So we have to be careful when drawing this. Let's just use this part. Extend it like this. And there you go. So you just need to label your intercept, which is 1 and negative 1, as well as 0, which is the origin. Do not forget your x and y or fx. And the turning points over there, you need to label it because it's out of the scale, but it's okay. I show you another one trick that you can use. So this one is negative 2, 3, sec 3, or you can, assuming that this one is not here, you can use dotted line like this. Sorry, it's a dash line. Negative 1 over sec 3. You can use the calculator to evaluate this value whether it's correct. It should be 0 point something, 0.7, maybe 707 or 73. And this one is 2 over 3 sec 3, and don't ask me to evaluate this one. Okay, so with that, our cubic curve is done for exercise number 8.